Pro tip for any student trying to enter video production as a career: if you're going to spend hours shooting a video, make sure you turn the mic on. So because of my class schedule this last year, I haven't actually had to make one of these videos in like an entire year. Like literally my last video was last summer. I lost a piece of video equipment. So that's why I didn't have a video last week. This week, I filmed the entire thing on Sunday, went out, had dinner, came back on Sunday night, tried to edit it, and realized I hadn't turned the microphone on. So I'm re-recording it real quick today. So yeah, apologies. All right, so let's start by answering some of the questions that people had last week. Number one, what's up with this grace period thing? When are things due? So in general, all of week one's materials are due at the end of week one. The end of week one is Sunday, 11:59 p.m. I don't know why I chose Sunday. It is awfully inconvenient. But you have a 1 week grace period. So that means that all of week one's assignments you still have access to in week two. You can do them anytime during week two, submit them, full credit. After week two, then I just start pulling assignments or labs from my IT lab, so you won't be able to do them anymore. But that gives you some flexibility. You've got a 1 week grace period. Next, some people have been confused because you go into my IT lab and you're seeing all of the labs. Well, what do I need to do? You only have to do the labs that are assigned on that week. As it turns out, what I do for summer is I open up everything. I don't normally do that during the school year, but even just like a 1 week vacation or a weekend vacation, if you're used to doing your work on the weekend because you work, can really throw people off. And so having the ability to kind of work ahead is helpful. So you'll see all of the labs, all of the lab tests, which are really just big projects, already open, so you can work ahead if you want to. All right, and while we're talking about labs, I should probably mention that the names for things aren't always consistent. That's because the people who set up the My IT lab for the department, because those are standard across the department, they change the names of things from time to time. So what we call a lab test might be called a practical exam one semester. I'll try to put parentheses in whenever so that people will know what's what, but labs are just the trainings, the interactive trainings that we do on each thing. In Word, there's also a lab test. It might be called a practical exam in a video somewhere because I made the video in a semester where that's what we called it. But it's just the projects that you download, do stuff, and then re-upload. We'll talk more about that in a second because you've got one this week. And I've also got a couple questions about grading. People are concerned that their grades aren't showing up in Canvas from my IT lab. That's because the two things aren't linked. So I have to manually move grades over. I generally do that once those assignments disappear, which is after your 1 week grace period for the assignment. All right, now for what we're going to be doing in week two. Week two, we're covering two chapters, chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 2 is all about I/O interfaces. I/O interfaces are probably the most interesting part of sort of computers right now. It's how do we interact with our machines. You know, when I was a kid, we had DOS. We literally had to type commands into a computer to get stuff to work. Nowadays, obviously, you know, we moved to like mouse and icons and things like that, but now we have touch screens and now you can use your voice, and now I'm talking into my watch half the time. And people look at me like I'm crazy. Chapter 3 is all about the internet. How are these computers connected to each other? The connections between computers is probably at this point more important than what the computer can actually do on its own. If I were to remove the internet connection from almost any computer, you would look at it and, well, what the heck can I do with this thing? How does the internet work? How did it get started? All that information is in chapter 3. Your discussion for this week is all about self-driving cars. I've got a video. It's a TED Talk from somebody from Google who's been working on their self-driving car project. And he really kind of goes through some details as to how the car works and shows you some video of the cars actually working sort of in the real world. And so what I want you to do is don't look at the video. Not yet. First, think to yourself, would you feel comfortable driving in a self-driving car? Like, would you feel okay just sitting into a car and letting a machine take you to work or take you to school? Then watch the video. After you've asked yourself that question. After the video, ask yourself that question again and say, you know, like, yeah, like, do I feel better about this? Or do I still have some reservations? And that's what I want you to share in the discussion. Obviously, there is no right or wrong answer. If there was a right or wrong answer, it really wouldn't be a discussion, would it? It would just be a quiz. And then finally, you have your Word lab test. Now, this is meant to be sort of a culminating experience for our entire Word unit. but your Word unit was just 1 week, right? So week 1, we did all the labs for Word. In week 2, we're doing the lab test. You're gonna notice pattern repeat for Excel and PowerPoint for our 6-week course. Now the lab test, in order for it to work, you're gonna download a bunch of files. Those files come from my IT lab. One of them is a set of instructions. So that set of instructions is, well, I should say, in addition to the instructions, there's also a document, in this case, a Word document, because you're doing this in Word. And so you're gonna open up that Word document in your regular version of Word that you have on your computer. Remember, you can download Microsoft Office for free through FCC. There is a video below that will show you how to do that. So if you don't have it, you will, right? But open that document up in Word, open up the instructions, and then just do the things it says. Go to paragraph whatever, boldface this, make this thing right justified, whatever the instructions are, follow those in the document so you're actually editing that document. If there are any other files that are needed, let's say they want you to add a photo, they're going to include that photo with all the other files that they put in. For the most part, this is going to work. I will say if you are a Mac user, you're fine in this course, right? Everything's gonna work just fine for you. But so sometimes they'll mention a theme by name and you won't find that theme. And you're like, well, what the heck? Just choose one that's similar. And as it turns out, the way the computer grades, it will kind of know like, well, you changed the theme. That's actually more important than what you changed it to. I still have to go in manually and kind of see how it graded and whether or not it was being really just a little too detail oriented, but we can fix all that stuff afterwards. But for right now, just choose a theme that's close or choose a piece of clip art that's close to what they wanted. Now, by the way, included with that, there's also a sample, right? So it's a PDF file that shows you what the document should look like when you're done. So if you look at it and it may not look exact, that's fine. You can still get full credit without it looking exact. Although if you're using the Windows version, you're probably gonna get pretty close to exact. But as you're going through, it's like having the picture in the cookbook of what the thing's supposed to turn out to look like when you're done. That can kind of be helpful. You might be like, wait, you want me to do what with the columns? If you look at the PDF of what it's supposed to be at the end, you're like, oh, I get it. You want it 3 columns wide on this page, but not on this page. You kind of get the idea, right? It's a model to kind of help direct you in that path. So anyway, check out the Word lab test. Now, once you have those files, you've made all those edits and changes, you upload your final Word document back to my IT lab for automatic grading. The computer will give you a grade. Don't worry about it. That's not the grade that's going to go into Canvas. When I switch the grade over to Canvas, I'm actually going to look and try to alter your grade to see if there's any sort of bonus points that need to be assessed, because I kind of thought this area was maybe a little bit too strict. But you'll at least get your raw score from my IT lab almost immediately. And that is it. If you have any questions, just email me, brian.baker@fresnocitycollege.edu. And yeah, have a great week too. Enjoy your summer.